Silas Mercer drew his pistol and pressed his back against the splintered chimney, shielding the bleeding child beneath his coat, while 3 riders crossed the creek below. He had spent 11 years riding past other folks' troubles. He had sworn he owed this world nothing. But the girl shaking against his ribs had whispered 6 words that ruined every excuse he had ever made. If you believe a child should never face cruelty alone, please subscribe to this channel and follow this story to the very end. Comment the city you are watching from, so I can see how far my story has traveled. Silas Mercer had not spoken to another human being in 11 days, and he reckoned that was about right. The Colorado sun came down hard on his shoulders, hard enough that his shirt had crusted to his back in places where the sweat had dried and turned to salt. His horse, a sorrel mare named Juniper, walked with her head low. She had been walking that way for most of an hour, and Silas did not push her. A man who pushed his horse in country like this was a man who walked home, and Silas had no home to walk to. He shifted in the saddle. "Easy now," he said. "We'll find water before sundown." Juniper flicked an ear back. "You don't believe me? Fair enough." He had been talking to his horse for most of 3 years. It was the only conversation he could trust not to ask him questions. The land sloped down toward a thin line of green. He saw it before Juniper did, but the mare smelled it first, and her pace picked up a half step. Cottonwoods meant water, and water meant they could rest before the next stretch of dry. He let her have her head. When they reached the bank, she stopped. She did not lower her muzzle. She did not step forward. She braced her front legs and stood like a fence post. "Drink," Silas said. The mare did not move. He waited. He had been a horsebreaker long enough to know that an animal that refused water was an animal with a reason. He scanned the dry clay along the creek bed. He looked for the curl of a copperhead or the long stripe of a rattler. He saw neither. "Juniper, move." She did not move. He swung down from the saddle. He took the reins in his left hand and walked her up to the water himself, slow, talking low. That was when he heard it. It was small. It was the kind of sound a man would not hear if he was riding past at a trot. It was the sound of someone breathing who had been holding their breath too long. Silas stopped. He did not move his hand toward his pistol. Not yet. A man who reached too quick in country like this could find himself reaching into a grave. "Who's there?" No answer. The breathing kept going. It was on the other side of the creek. It came from inside something. From under something. He stepped across the shallow water. The creek was not deep enough to wet his cuffs. On the other side, the bank rose into the cottonwoods, and beyond the trees, half hidden in the shade, stood what was left of a homestead. Half the roof had caved in. One wall was charred black up to the window frame. Silas drew his pistol. He held it pointed down at his thigh. "Anybody in there?" The breathing stopped. He waited a count of 3. "I heard you, miss. Or sir, I heard you breathing. Come on out." Nothing. He stepped onto the porch. The boards complained. He went sideways through the doorway the way a man goes when he reckons there might be a gun on the other side, and he did not put his weight down all the way until he had seen the room. It looked empty. A kitchen table lay on its side. A child's shoe sat in the corner, alone with no mate. Silas knelt slowly. He set his pistol on the floor and slid it away from himself a foot. Then he set both his hands flat on the boards where anyone watching could see them. "My name is Silas Mercer," he said. He kept his voice low and even the way he spoke to a colt that had not yet been broke. "I am not the man you are scared of. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he did. But I am going to sit here on this floor, and I am going to wait, and when you are ready, you come out." He waited. He counted to 20. He heard the breathing again. It came from beneath the overturned table. He did not look at it. He kept his eyes on the wall. "All right," he said. "I see you. I see where you are. I am not going to move. You can hold whatever you are holding. You can hold it as long as you want." A small voice said, "I have a knife." Silas closed his eyes for a moment. "Yes, miss. I figured you might." It's a real one. I don't doubt it. I'll use it. I believe you. There was a silence. Then the edge of the table shifted just enough for him to see two eyes in the shadow. They were brown. They were not crying. They were the eyes of somebody who had finished crying a long time ago. Who sent you? The voice said. Nobody sent me, miss. My horse wouldn't drink. That's the truth of it. She stopped at the creek and would not cross, and I came up here to see why. Liar. I am a lot of things. I have not been a liar in some years, not because I am better than other men, because I am too tired. The eyes watched him. They did not blink. Stand up, she said. I'd rather not. Stand up. If I stand up, I will look like a man who came to hurt you. If I stay down here, I look like a man on the floor of an empty house, and that is what I am. So I will stay down here. The eyes shifted. Push the gun farther. He pushed the pistol another foot away. Farther. He pushed it to the wall. All right, she said. The table moved. She came out from under it the way a hurt animal comes out from under a porch. Slow, one arm at a time. She had a kitchen knife in both hands. It was rusted. The point was bent. She held it like a man holds a rifle with the butt pressed against her ribs. She was no more than 9. Her dress had been gray once. It was a color now that had no name. Her hair was the color of old corn silk and stuck to her forehead in dirty strings. Her lips were split. Her left leg lay twisted under her in a way that a leg was not meant to lie. And Silas Mercer, who had seen more than one kind of wound in his life, knew at once that the leg had been bad for a long time before she had ever come to this house. She looked at him. He looked back. Miss, he said, have you got water? She did not answer. I have water, in my canteen, on my saddle. If I get up to fetch it, will you cut me? She thought about it. I might. Fair enough. He started to get up. He moved slow. He kept his hands out where she could see them. She tracked him with the knife the way a child tracks a snake, and he did not turn his back on her until he had reached the doorway, and even then he turned only halfway. He came back with the canteen. He set it on the floor between them. Drink, he said. You drink first. Smart. He drank a swallow. He set the canteen down again and pushed it toward her with his boot. She watched the canteen for a long time. Then she lowered the knife just an inch and reached for it with one hand. The other hand kept the knife pointed at his chest. She drank. She did not gulp. She did not spill. She drank the way a child drinks who has been thirsty before and who knows that thirst will come again. Silas saw it, and he did not say anything because there was nothing to say. What's your name, miss? She did not answer. All right. I'll tell you mine again. Silas Mercer. I broke horses in Wyoming for 6 years. Before that I was a scout in the Union Army. Before that I was a boy in Tennessee. Now I am a man on a horse who does not know where he is going. That is the whole story. Why are you telling me? So you'll know who's in the room with you. She wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. She passed the canteen back. He did not take it. He pushed it toward her again with his boot. Keep it, he said. She stared at him. It's yours, he said. I'll get another. Her eyes filled, not with tears, with something harder. She blinked it away. Abby, she said. Beg pardon. Abby, that's my name. Abigail Reed. Miss Reed. Just Abby. Abby, then. How long have you been in this house? I don't know. More than a day. She nodded. More than 2. She nodded. Where's your folks, Abby? The knife came back up. Easy, he said. Easy. I'm not asking to take you anywhere. I am asking because I would like to know who I am dealing with, and that is all. She did not lower the knife, but she spoke. My mama is dead. I am sorry to hear that, miss. You don't even know her. No, miss, I don't. But I am sorry just the same. A dead mama is a thing to be sorry about no matter who she was. Abby's jaw worked. There was a lady with us, she said. Miss Clara. She put me under the floor. She said don't make a sound. She said don't come out. She said if I came out the man would find me. Silas did not move. What man, Abby? She lowered her voice. She lowered it so far he had to lean in to hear it, and even then he was not certain he had heard it right. Don't let the man in the gray hat know I'm alive. Silas Mercer felt the back of his neck cool. He had not felt that cooling in a long time. He had not let himself feel it. It was the feeling a man got before a fight he had not chosen. And Silas Mercer had spent 11 years not choosing fights. And now here he was, on the floor of a burned-out house, with a child's knife pointed at his ribs, and a name he did not know hanging over both of them like weather. Abby. Yes, sir? How long ago did Miss Clara put you under the floor? I don't know. Have you heard anybody since? Once. 2 men. They came in. They walked around. One of them said the kid is gone, Cal. The other one said find her. Cal. That's what he said. Did you see them? No, sir. I was under the boards. All right. Silas stood up. He did it slow. He kept his hands where she could see them. He went to the window. He kept his body to the side of the frame, and he looked out without showing his head, and what he saw made him take a breath he did not let out for a while. There were 3 riders on the ridge. They were a long way off, but they were coming. The man in front wore a gray hat. Abby? Yes, sir. I need you to listen to me, and I need you to listen close. Can you do that? Yes, sir. There are 3 men coming up the road to this house. I do not know if they are the men you are afraid of, but one of them is wearing a gray hat. She did not say anything. He turned and looked at her. The knife had come down. Her hands were shaking. Not the kind of shaking that came from fear. The kind that came from a body that had finished being afraid and was tired all the way through. I am going to pick you up, he said. No. Abby, listen. Don't touch me. I am going to pick you up because that leg of yours will not carry you, and I cannot leave you in this room. Those men will be at this door in 8 minutes, maybe less. Do you hear me? She stared at him. I do not know you, he said, and you do not know me, and there is no time for us to know each other. So you are going to have to make a choice right now, and I am going to ask you to make it fast. You can stay here with your knife and trust those men to ride past. Or you can come with me, and I will do what I can. That is the offer. It is not a good one. It is the only one I have. She did not answer. He waited. He counted to 5. Abby. Pick me up, she whispered. He went to her. He went down on one knee. He slid one arm under her shoulders and the other under her knees, and he was careful, the kind of careful a man learns from handling animals that have been beaten. She did not weigh what a 9-year-old child should weigh. She did not weigh half of it. She kept the knife. You can hold on to that, he said. If you want. I want. All right. He stood. There was the place near the chimney where 2 boards had pulled loose. He had noticed it when he came in. He carried her over to it. He set her down. He pulled the boards up. Down there, he said. With you. With me. She looked at the hole. She looked at him. It's dark, she said. Yes, miss. I don't like the dark. I don't either. But the dark is what we have. She nodded. He lowered her down first. He kept hold of her until her feet touched the dirt beneath the floor. Then he climbed down after her, and he reached up and he pulled the boards back over the hole, and he fitted them as best he could, and he laid his pistol on the dirt between them. It was a low space. He had to lie on his side. She lay against his chest because there was no other way to lie. He could feel the knife. He could feel her shaking. He could feel her ribs through the dress. He put his hand on her hair. He had not put his hand on a child's hair in 11 years, and he did not know he was going to do it until he had done it. Don't make a sound, he whispered. She did not. For a long time there was nothing. Then there was the sound of 3 horses. The horses came up to the porch and stopped. Saddle leather creaked. Boots hit the boards above their heads. 1 man, 2 men, 3 men. A voice spoke. "Place is empty, Cal." Another voice, lower, closer, right above their heads. "Place ain't empty. Place was empty when we left it. Now there's a canteen on the floor." Silas had forgotten the canteen. He did not breathe. Maybe a drifter. Maybe. Boots crossed the room. They stopped over the chimney. They turned. A long silence. Then the lower voice spoke again. It was a clean voice. It was not a rough voice. It was the voice of a man who had been to school and who used the schooling to make other men feel small. "The girl is alive, Briggs. You don't know that. I know it. I know it because I am standing in a house that I burned 6 days ago, and there is a canteen on the floor, and the canteen is full. Somebody brought it here. Somebody set it down. Somebody is in this house right now, or they were in this house an hour ago, and either way, somebody knows she was here." "What do you want to do, Cal?" "I want you and Pike to ride the creek, both directions, a mile each way. You see tracks, you follow them. You find a man, you bring him to me alive. You find a girl, you bring her to me alive. You do not bring me anything dead. Are we clear?" "Clear. Go." 2 pairs of boots crossed back to the door. Saddle leather creaked. 2 horses left at a run. 1 pair of boots stayed. They moved slow. They walked the length of the room. They walked back. They stopped over the chimney. A long silence. Then a sound Silas Mercer had heard before in the war and had hoped he would not hear again. The sound of a man drawing a pistol. A long silence after that. The boots above them did not move. Abby was not breathing. Silas was not breathing. The boots turned. They walked to the door. They crossed the porch. The saddle creaked. The horse walked off slow at a walk, not a trot, the way a man rides when he is thinking. Silas Mercer lay in the dirt under the floor of a burned house and listened to that walk fade until it was gone. And then he listened for another minute after that, and then another, and then he let out the breath he had been holding. Abby was crying. She was crying without sound. Her shoulders shook against him. Her hand was still on the knife. He did not say anything. He did not move his hand from her hair. After a while she stopped. After a while longer she spoke. "You stayed," she whispered. "Yes, miss." "Why?" Silas Mercer thought about it. He thought about the 11 years. He thought about the brother he had buried at Cold Harbor. He thought about the canteens he had filled and the houses he had ridden past, and the cries he had told himself were not his to answer. He did not have a good answer. He gave her the one he had. "Because I'm tired of riding away, miss. I am plain tired of it." She did not say anything to that. She closed her small hand around 2 of his fingers. She held them the way a child holds a thing she is afraid will be taken. She did not let go. And in the dark beneath the burned house, with 3 armed men hunting them across the creek and the long Colorado evening coming down hard, outside Silas Mercer made a promise he did not speak aloud, because speaking it would have meant believing it, and he was not yet a man who could believe such things. But he made it just the same. He waited a full hour before he moved. He counted it in his head, the way a soldier counts a watch, 1 Mississippi at a time, until he was certain. Then he eased the boards up over his head 1 at a time, no sound, and lifted himself out of the dirt first, to make sure the room above was empty before he reached back down for her. "Hand me the knife, Abby." "No." "Just so I can get you out." "No." "Then hand me your other hand." She gave him the other hand. He pulled her up slow. He set her on the floor of the burned room. He took a knee in front of her. "We're not staying here." "I know." "Can you ride?" "I never have." "You will tonight." He picked her up. He carried her out the back, where the wall had fallen in, not through the front door. He had not lived this long by walking out of houses through the doors he had walked into. Juniper was where he had left her in the cottonwoods on the far side of the creek. He set Abby down at the base of a tree. "Don't move." "I can't move." "That's right, you can't, so don't try." He brought the mare up. He tightened the cinch. He checked the rifle in the scabbard. He checked the pistol on his hip. He checked the second pistol in his saddlebag that he had not drawn in 4 years. He lifted Abby into the saddle first. He swung up behind her. "Hold the horn, miss." "Like this, both hands, tight. I have the knife." "Then put it in your belt. You don't have one. Then put it down the front of your dress." "It's rusted." "Better in there than in my back. Hold the horn." She held the horn. He turned Juniper away from the creek. He turned her north into country he did not know, because the road south was the road those 3 men had come from. They rode for an hour without speaking. The Colorado night came down warm and heavy. There was no moon yet. Juniper picked her way over rock by feel, and Silas let her and Abby leaned back against his chest, because she did not have the strength to sit up on her own. After a while she spoke. "Mr. Mercer?" "Yes, miss." "What if they catch us?" "They won't." "What if they do?" Silas thought about it. "Then I will do what a man does in that situation, and you will close your eyes, and we will not talk about it tonight." She did not say anything to that for a long time. Then she said, "Mr. Mercer." "Yes, miss." "You don't have to keep me." He pulled Juniper up. He pulled her up so hard the mare tossed her head, and Abby grabbed the horn with both hands to keep from sliding. "Say that again," he said. "You don't have to keep me. I'm not yours. I can hide. I'm good at hiding. I hid for 6 days. I can hide longer. You can ride away. I won't tell." Silas Mercer sat very still in the saddle. He let out a long breath. He nudged Juniper forward again at a walk. "Abby." "Yes, sir." "I want you to listen to me one time so I do not have to say this twice. Are you listening?" "Yes, sir." "You are not a thing I picked up. You are a person who is going somewhere. Right now, you are going where I am going because you cannot go on your own. When you can go on your own, you will tell me where you want to go, and I will take you there. Until that day, you are not a burden, and you are not luggage, and you do not have to offer to climb off this horse to make me feel better about carrying you. Do you understand me?" She did not answer. "Abby." "Yes, sir." "Do you understand me?" "I understand." "Good." They rode another hour. The land flattened. He smelled wood smoke before he saw the shack. He pulled Juniper up behind a stand of scrub and listened. No voices. No horses. The smoke was old. A week, maybe more. Some cattleman had used the shack and moved on. He rode in. It was a one-room line shack. One door, one window with no glass. A stovepipe through the roof. A bunk in the corner with a rolled blanket on it. He carried her inside. He set her on the bunk. "Don't go to sleep." "I'm tired." "I know you are. Don't go to sleep, not yet. I need to talk to you while you can still talk." He found a candle in a tin cup. He lit it. He set it on the floor so the light would not show through the window. He sat down on the floor in front of her. "Abby." "Yes, sir." "I need you to tell me what happened. Start from the beginning. Take your time. But tell me all of it." She looked at the candle. "My mama," she said. "Her name was Ruth Reed." "Ruth Reed." "Yes, sir. She was a widow. My papa died in the war. I don't remember him. Mama said he was a good man. She said good men die quicker than bad ones. She wasn't wrong. We lived in St. Joseph, in Missouri. Mama worked at a hotel. She washed sheets." "All right." In April a letter came. A lawyer in Denver wrote it. He said my mama's uncle was dead. He said the uncle left her his homestead in Colorado. He said all she had to do was come claim it. Silas nodded. Mama didn't have money for the train, so she found a wagon. There was a lady going west. Her name was Miss Clarabelle. She was nice. She said Mama could ride with her and we would split the cost of food. "Miss Clarabelle." "Yes, sir." "Go on." "We came west 3 weeks. We saw a buffalo. Mama said it was the last one." "Maybe so." "We came to the homestead. The house was empty, but it was still standing. Mama was happy. She said now I would have a yard. She said now I would have a window I could call mine." Abby stopped. Silas waited. On the second day a man came, she said. He had a gray hat. He had clean boots. He had a paper. He said the homestead was his. He said my mama's uncle sold it to him before he died. Calvin Rusk. She looked up. You know him? No, but I know his kind. Mama said he was lying. Mama had her own paper, from the lawyer. Mama said her uncle would never sell because the uncle wrote her a letter saying the homestead was for me. For you? Yes, sir. Mama said her uncle never had children. She said he wanted me to have a yard. What did Rusk say? He said he would come back. He said he would bring the sheriff. He said he would prove the paper was his. Did he come back? Yes, sir. The next morning. He had 2 men. He didn't have a sheriff. Silas's jaw set. Mama told Miss Clara to take me to the creek. Mama said go play. Mama said go and don't come back until I call you. Miss Clara took my hand. We went to the creek. How long were you at the creek? I don't know. A long time. Miss Clara was looking back at the house. And then I heard a shot. Silas closed his eyes. Miss Clara grabbed me, Abby said. She picked me up. She ran. She ran with me, and I am heavy because of my leg. But she ran. She took me back to the house. She did not go in. She went around the back. She lifted the floorboard, and she put me under. She said, don't make a sound. She said, don't come out for any reason. She said if I came out, the man would find me. Then what? Then she went away. Where did she go? Around the house. I heard her call my mama's name. I heard her scream. I heard a man tell her to be quiet. I heard her say my mama's name again. I heard her say, what did you do to her? I heard him say, you'll find out. Silas opened his eyes. What else, Abby? He hit her. I heard it. All right. He said, where is the kid? He said it 3 times. He said, where is the cripple kid? She said, dead. She said the kid died of the fever last week. She said we buried her outside of Julesburg. She said it loud. She said it like she wanted me to hear. She wanted them to think you were already dead. Yes, sir. Did they believe her? I don't know. They took her away. I heard the wagon. And then nothing. For a long time. Then they came back and they burned the house. The fire was on top of me. I could feel it. I thought I was going to die under there. But the floor was wet. The boards were wet. They didn't burn through. Silas Mercer let out a long breath. He put his face in his hands for a moment. Then he took his hands down. Abby. Yes, sir. You stayed under that floor for how long? 6 days, I think. 6. The sun came in 7 mornings. What did you eat? There was a sack of flour. I ate it dry. I dug it out of the bag with my fingers. And water? There was a jar. Miss Clara left it. I drank it slow. When did the jar run out? 2 days ago. Silas stood up. He walked to the window. He looked at nothing. He turned around. He sat down again. Abby? Yes, sir. Where is the paper your mama had? The one from the lawyer. Miss Clara took it. Miss Clara took it where? To the house. When the man came the second time. She told my mama give me the paper. She said I will hide it. She said I will hide it where they will never find it. Where? She didn't say. She just said give me the paper. My mama gave it to her. Miss Clara went into the house. She was in the house when the shot was fired. She came back out. She didn't have the paper anymore. She hid it in the house. Yes, sir. I think so. Before they burned it. Yes, sir. And Rusk didn't find it. I don't know. He would have. If he had found it, he would not still be looking for you. Abby was quiet. Abby? Yes, sir. Do you remember where in the house she went? No, sir. I was at the creek. All right. But, sir? Yes. Miss Clara liked the chimney. She said it was a good chimney. She said somebody had built it right. She put her hand on it the first day. She said this is the part of the house that will never come down. Silas Mercer looked at her. He looked at her a long time. The chimney, he said. Yes, sir. Stone. Yes, sir. Wouldn't burn. No, sir. He sat back on his heels. Abby. Yes, sir. That paper might still be there. She did not say anything. Her eyes were closed. She had not gone to sleep. She was holding on. He could see it. Go to sleep, miss. You said don't. I said don't until you finished. You finished. Go to sleep. She lay back on the bunk. He took the blanket off and put it over her. The knife was still in the front of her dress. He left it there. She was asleep before he sat down again. He sat in the dark with the candle. He thought. He thought about a child under a burning floor with a jar of water and a sack of flour, and a woman dragged off to a wagon with a paper she could not save. He thought about a clean voice that had not bothered to whisper above the chimney where they had been hiding. He thought about a man who could buy a sheriff and burn a house and stand over the corpse of his own crime and not even hurry. He thought about it for a long time. He blew out the candle. He sat in the dark. He did not sleep. When the gray came up, he woke her. Abby? Yes, sir. We have to go. Where? Town. She came awake all the way then. No. There's a settlement 6 miles north. There's a doctor. There has to be. Your leg needs a doctor. He'll be there. He might be. He might not. We will look. We will look careful. If he is there, we will turn around. Promise me. I do not make promises, miss. I will tell you what I will do, and I will do it. If he is in that town, we will not be in that town for 1 minute longer than it takes me to see him. Are we clear? We are clear. Eat this. He handed her a piece of jerked beef from his saddlebag. She ate it. She did not gulp. She ate it slow. He saddled the mare. He lifted her up. He swung up behind her. He turned Juniper north. They were 2 miles out when she said, Mr. Mercer. Yes, miss. What's your horse's name? Juniper. That's a tree. It is. Why a tree? She was born under one. In Wyoming. There was a juniper bush over the corral that morning. Her mama dropped her under it. I was the man who pulled her out. Then she's yours. She's mine. All the way. All the way. Abby leaned her head back against his chest. My mama said horses know things people don't. Your mama was right. Juniper knew I was in the house. Yes, miss, she did. She wouldn't drink because of me. That's right. Then she's a good horse. She is. Abby was quiet a while. Mr. Mercer. Yes, miss. If we go to town and the man is there and you have to leave fast. Yes. Don't leave Juniper. I won't. Promise. I told you, miss. I don't make promises. Then say it again. I won't leave the horse. Good. They rode on. The settlement was called Pine Hollow on the sign that had fallen sideways. It was 3 streets. It had a livery, a mercantile, a church with no bell, and a saloon that had been a tent before it had been a building. The post office was inside the mercantile. The deputy's office was a door at the end of the main street with a star painted on it. There was no jail. There were no men with badges in the road. Silas pulled Juniper up at the south end of town. Abby. Yes, sir. Pull your hair forward. She pulled her hair forward. Now keep your head down. Keep your face against me. If I tell you to look, look slow. If I tell you to hide, you hide. If I tell you to go, you go, and don't look at where I am. Yes, sir. He nudged Juniper forward at a walk. He kept to the side of the street. He did not look at people. He looked at boots and at hats. He had learned in the army that you could tell a man's business by his boots and his hat. Clean boots meant a man who did not work. A new hat meant a man who had money. A gray hat meant a man he wanted to find before the man found him. He saw no gray hat. He pulled up at the mercantile. I am going to lift you down. I am going to set you on the steps. I am going to go inside 1 minute. You sit. You wait. You keep your head down. If you see a gray hat, you say my name out loud twice. 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 Silas. Silas. That's the word. Anything else you say nothing. He lifted her down. She sat on the step. He went inside. The store was dim and smelled of leather and coffee. A woman stood behind the counter. She was perhaps 50. She wore a gray dress, and her hair was the color of iron and pulled back tight. She did not smile when he came in. She did not stop sorting the buttons in front of her. "Help you, mister?" "I need salt pork, a pound, hardtack, a box, 2 cans of peaches, a bottle of laudanum if you have it." "For who?" "Beg pardon?" "The laudanum. For who?" Silas paused. "For my daughter. She has a leg that pains her." The woman stopped sorting buttons. She looked at him. "You don't have a daughter, mister." Silas Mercer's hand moved an inch toward his hip. "You don't have one because you are not from here, and there are no families come through here in 2 months. So either you are lying about the daughter or you are lying about something else. Which is it?" He did not answer. "I asked you a question." "Ma'am." "Don't ma'am me. I asked you a question." He looked at her. She looked at him. "There is a child on your step," she said quietly. "I saw you set her there. She is too small to be yours, and she is too thin, and she is too scared. So you tell me right now who that child is, or I will walk to that door, and I will ask her myself." Silas Mercer's voice went very low. "You are not going to ask her, ma'am." "I will ask her if I want to mister." "You will not." "Try me." There was a silence. Then Silas Mercer said, the way a tired man says a thing he has carried too long, "Her mother is dead. Her name is Abby. She was abandoned at a homestead at the creek. I found her 2 days ago. I took her. I do not know what to do with her. I came in for food and a doctor's name, and that is the truth of it. You can call me a liar. You can call the deputy. You can call God Almighty. But you will not speak to that child until she has had a meal and a bath, because she has not had one in 2 weeks, and I will not have her frightened by a strange woman before she has had a meal." The woman behind the counter did not move. Her face did not change. Then she said, "What was the mother's name?" "Ruth Reed." The woman set her hands flat on the counter. She set them flat and she pressed down on them. "Sir," she said. "Ma'am?" "My sister was traveling with a Ruth Reed." Silas Mercer felt the back of his neck cool for the second time in 2 days. "Your sister." "Clara Bell." "Ma'am, my sister was traveling with a widow named Ruth Reed and a child with a bad leg. She was bringing them through here to a homestead at the creek 6 miles east. They came through this store. They bought flour and a candle and a paper of pins. Clara hugged me at that door. That was 12 days ago. She has not come back." Silas Mercer did not breathe. "Mister," the woman said, "where is my sister?" "I don't know, ma'am." "Tell me what you know." "I know what the child told me. I know that she is alive when they took her. I know that the man who took her is the one who killed the mother. I know his name is Calvin Rusk." The woman closed her eyes. She closed them, and she did not open them for a count of 3. When she opened them, they were not wet. "You will bring that child into this store right now," she said. "You will bring her behind this counter. You will sit her in the chair in the back room and you will pour her a cup of milk. There is bread in the box. There is butter. You will not let her see the street and you will not let her see the door. I will close the shutters. You will keep your hand on your pistol. Do you understand me, mister?" "Yes, ma'am." "My name is Martha Bell." "Silas Mercer, ma'am." "Go get the child, Silas Mercer." He went. He came back with Abby in his arms. Martha Bell did not look at the child for a long time. She closed the shutters first. She bolted the door. She turned a sign in the window. Then she came around the counter, and she stopped a few feet away, and she looked down at Abby, and she put a hand to her own mouth. She did not cry. She did not bend down. She did not reach. She said, "Hello, child." Abby looked up. "Are you a friend?" "I am her sister." "Whose sister?" "Miss Clara's." Abby's face changed. It was the first time Silas had seen it do anything but fall. "You look like her." "She used to say that." "Miss Clara said she had a sister with iron hair." Did she? She did. Martha Bell knelt down then. She knelt down slow, the way her knees would let her, and she put one hand on Abby's good knee, and she said, "Child, my sister is the bravest woman I ever knew. Is she alive?" "I don't know. Is she alive when you saw her last?" "Yes, ma'am." "Then we are going to find her." Silas Mercer stood by the door with his hand on his pistol and listened. "Ma'am," he said. "Yes, Silas Mercer." "There is a man in this country named Calvin Rusk. He is hunting this child. He has 3 men. He has clean boots and he has a gray hat. Have you seen him?" Martha Bell stood up. She turned to face him. "I have seen him." "When?" "Yesterday." "Where?" "In this store." Silas's hand tightened on the pistol. "He came in. He bought a tin of tobacco. He paid in silver. He asked if I had seen a man riding north with a child." "What did you tell him?" "I told him I had not." "What did he say?" "He said if I did, I should send word to the deputy." "The deputy?" "Yes." "Ma'am, is the deputy his man?" Martha Bell looked at him. "Silas Mercer, the deputy of this town has been Calvin Rusk's man for a year and a half. He has run every claim through Rusk's office. He has burned 3 homesteads. He calls them squatter eviction. He is paid in deed transfers and not coin. All right? And there is more. Tell me. There is no marshal. Beg pardon. There is no federal marshal between here and Denver. There has not been one since March. The man who held the post was found dead in a creek bed, and the report said it was his horse that did it. It was not his horse." Silas Mercer set his teeth. "All right. So you understand?" "I understand, ma'am." "You cannot ride into this town and ask for the law. The law in this town will hand you and that child to Calvin Rusk by sundown." Abby made a small sound. Silas Mercer turned and looked at her. She was not crying. She was looking past him through the gap where Martha had not quite closed the shutter out into the street. Her hand was on the front of her dress, where the knife was. "Abby." She did not answer. "Abby, what do you see?" She lifted her finger. She pointed. Silas crossed the room in 3 steps, and he put his eye to the gap in the shutter, and he looked and he felt the cool come down the back of his neck for the 3rd time in 2 days, and he knew now that it would not leave him again. A gray hat, a clean coat, a clean horse, a man on the street outside the store talking easy to the deputy, the way a man talks to a friend. The deputy laughed. The man in the gray hat did not. He looked toward the store. He looked at the door. He looked at the closed sign. He looked at it a long time. Then he turned his horse, and he rode slow up the street. Silas Mercer stood at the shutter. He did not move for a long time. "Mr. Mercer?" "Yes, miss." "Take me away." "Yes, miss." "Now!" "Yes, miss." He turned to Martha Bell. "Ma'am?" "Silas Mercer. I came into your store to buy food and ask for a doctor. I have brought a fight to your door. I am sorry for that." "Don't be sorry." "Ma'am, you did not bring this fight, Silas Mercer. This fight has been at my door for 1 year. I have been afraid of it. I have stood behind this counter and sold tobacco to the man who killed my sister, and I have not said a word because I told myself there was no one to tell. There is no marshal. There is no judge. There is no law. So I have been afraid. Today you walked in with a living child who saw what he did, and the fight is mine now whether I want it or not. So do not be sorry, Silas Mercer. Be ready." "I am ready, ma'am." "Then take her out the back. There is a root cellar door. It opens behind the smokehouse. There is a path through the brush. The path goes to a creek. The creek goes east. You follow it 3 miles. You will come to a draw. There is a cave above the draw. No one knows about it but me and one boy who is dead. Wait there. I will come for you tomorrow night after the store closes. I will bring food and word." "Yes, ma'am." Silas Mercer. "Ma'am, that paper she's talking about, in the chimney." "Yes, ma'am." "You go get it." "I aim to." "Before he does." "Yes, ma'am." He lifted Abby. He carried her to the back. Martha Bell unbolted the cellar door. She kissed the top of Abby's head fast, like she did not want either of them to remember she had done it. She handed Silas a flour sack with bread and salt pork and a candle and a bottle of laudanum. "Go!" He went. Out the back, past the smokehouse, down the path, into the brush, down to the creek, east along the bank low, the mare led by the bridle. Abby on his shoulder because the brush was too thick to ride. 3 miles east. The draw. The cave above the draw. He set her down inside. He did not light the candle. He sat in the dark with his back to the cave wall and his pistol on his knee. He did not say anything. Abby's hand found his hand in the dark. "Mr. Mercer?" "Yes, miss. You didn't give me to the deputy." "No, miss, I did not." "You said you might." "I said I might. Then I saw him. I changed my mind." "You can still change it back." "I cannot." "Why not?" Silas Mercer sat in the dark a long time before he answered. He thought about the 11 years. He thought about every road he had ridden alone. He thought about a woman dragged into a wagon and a child under a burning floor, and a deputy who laughed at a clean joke in the middle of a dusty street. "Abby," he said. "Yes, sir." "There is a man in this country who has decided that you do not count. There is a deputy who agrees with him. There is a town that has been told to look the other way. And there is somewhere a woman named Clara Bell who is alive or dead. And either way she put you under a floor and told a lie with the last breath she could spare to keep you alive." "Yes, sir. I have ridden past a lot of children in my life, miss. I have ridden past the kind of trouble that makes a man stop. I have not stopped. Not once. I told myself I had reasons. I did not have reasons. I had habits." "Yes, sir." "I am not going to ride past you, Abby Reed. I am not going to hand you back. I am not going to change my mind. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when it costs me. Do you hear me, miss?" "Yes, sir. That is my word. It is not a promise. It is better than a promise. It is a thing I have decided. Do you understand?" She did not answer with words. She moved closer to him in the dark. She put her head against his arm. She kept her hand in his. Outside the cave, a long way off, a coyote called, and another one answered, and the Colorado night came down over the draw, and somewhere on a clean horse a man in a gray hat was already asking the deputy of Pine Hollow which way the storekeeper's back door led out. Silas Mercer sat in the dark with a sleeping child against his shoulder and a pistol on his knee, and for the first time in 11 years, he was not tired. He was ready. The night did not stay quiet. 2 hours before dawn, Juniper shifted at the cave mouth, and Silas Mercer was on his feet before the mare's hoof had finished moving. He set Abby against the back wall. "Stay." "What is it?" "Don't know yet. Stay." He went to the front of the cave with the pistol low at his side. He did not step into the open. He stood inside the dark, where the dark of the cave met the dark of the draw, and he listened. A horse. One horse, coming up the bank. Slow. He cocked the hammer with his thumb. He kept the click low. He waited. The horse stopped. A voice spoke. A woman's voice. Tired, careful. "Silas Mercer." He did not answer. "Silas, it's Martha Bell. Don't shoot me, you damn fool." He let the hammer down slow. He stepped out. She came up the slope leading her mule by the reins. She had a shawl over her head and a sack over her shoulder. "Where is she?" "Sleeping." "Wake her." "Why?" "Because we are not staying." Silas Mercer set his teeth. "What happened?" Rusk came back to the store at sundown. Came back with the deputy and 2 men. He stood in the road and watched the front door for an hour. He did not come in. He did not have to. When he left 1 man behind in the saloon across the street. That man is watching the store right now. I left out the cellar. "How did you get past him?" "I am a woman of 52, Silas Mercer. He does not look at me. None of them look at me. That is the only piece of luck I have ever had in this country, and tonight I used it." She set the sack down. "Wake her." He woke Abby. Abby came up off the cave floor with her hand already at the front of her dress where the knife was. "It's Miss Martha." "Yes, sir?" "Eat fast. We are riding." She ate. Bread, cold ham. She drank from a jug Martha poured. Martha knelt down in front of her. "Child." "Yes, ma'am." "You told Silas Mercer my sister put a paper in the chimney." "I think so. She liked the chimney. She said it would never come down." "Is there anything else you remember? Anything she said to you that day? Anything she gave you?" Abby was quiet. She chewed. She stopped chewing. "She gave me a button." Martha Bell did not move. "What kind of button, child?" "A brass one. She said it was off her papa's coat. She said when I felt bad I should hold it. She put it in my pocket. I lost it under the floor." "Where in the floor?" "In the corner, by the chimney. I had it in my hand, and then I was asleep, and then it was gone." Martha Bell looked at Silas. "Silas Mercer." "Yes, ma'am. My father wore a coat with 8 brass buttons until the day he died. My sister cut them off his coat at the funeral. She gave 4 to me. She kept 4. She did not put them in a sewing box. She kept them in a tin in her trunk, and she carried that tin everywhere because she said it was the last of him." "All right. That tin would have been in the wagon. It would have been in the homestead. If she had time to leave a button in that child's hand, she had time to set that tin somewhere. Somewhere she would know it would not burn." "The chimney." "The chimney." Silas Mercer pulled his hat down. "Then we ride." "Not yet." "Ma'am." "There is more." "Tell me." Martha Bell stood. "Rusk sent a rider out 2 hours ago, north. I asked the boy at the livery. The rider went to fetch men from a place called Sweetwater. There are men in Sweetwater who work for Rusk in a way the deputy does not. They are not deputies. They are not in the daylight. They will be here by tomorrow night, maybe sooner." The rider was fast. "How many?" The boy said 6. 6 in Rusk and 2 in the deputy. That's 10. "That is 10. "All right." "Silas." "Ma'am, there is one more thing, and I do not want to say it in front of the child." He looked at her. "Step outside with me a minute." "No." He turned to Abby. "Abby, whatever Miss Martha says, you are old enough to hear it. We are past the time for hiding things from you. Are you old enough?" "Yes, sir." "Say it, ma'am." Martha Bell looked at the child a long moment. Then she looked back at Silas. "My sister is alive." Abby made a sound. Not a word. A small sound like a breath that did not know what to do with itself. "Where?" "I do not know where. I know the boy at the livery saw a wagon leave the deputy's office 4 days ago at night. He said there was a woman in the back. He said her hands were tied. He said her hair was iron color. He said she looked at him as the wagon passed, and she did not say anything, but she looked. He thought it was me at first. Then he saw her hair was lighter." "Clara." "Yes." "Where was the wagon going?" "East. The road east goes nowhere but the next county. He had her in the wagon 4 days ago. He may have killed her by now. Or he may not. A man like Rusk does not kill a witness until he is sure he has what he needs. He thinks my sister knows where the paper is. He thinks she will tell him. She will not. No, Silas Mercer, she will not." Abby was on her knees on the cave floor. She had her hand on her mouth. She did not cry. She rocked once. Then she stopped. Then she said very small, "Miss Clara is alive." "For now, child." "For now." "Yes." "Then we have to find her." "We will, child. But first we have to make sure they do not find you." Silas Mercer crossed the cave. He picked up the rifle. He checked the rounds. "We are not going east." "Silas, we are not going east tonight. We will go east tomorrow night. Tonight we are going west." "West. Back to the homestead. We are going to get that tin out of the chimney before he gets there with 6 new men. If we ride east tonight, we ride into men we do not know on roads we do not know. If we ride west tonight, we ride into ground I have already walked, and we get the one thing he wants more than anything else, And once we have it, he cannot afford to kill anybody. Not your sister, not the child, not me. We become the thing he has to bargain with." Martha Bell did not answer for a moment. Then she nodded. "All right." "Ma'am?" "Yes." "You go back to town." "No." "Ma'am?" "Silas Mercer. I have buried a mother and a father and a husband and a son, and I have stood behind a counter for 1 year selling tobacco to the man who took the last person in this world I called my own. I am not going back to that store tonight. I am going where you are going." "Ma'am, that ground is not for a woman of your age." Martha Bell looked at him. She looked at him a long time. Then she said, "Silas Mercer, you will not say that to me twice." He did not say it twice. He saddled Juniper. He lifted Abby up. He swung up behind. Martha came up on her mule. They went out of the cave at a walk west the way they had come. They had ridden a mile when they saw the fire. The line shack. It was a small fire. At first the kind a man sees on the horizon and thinks is a lamp. Then it grew. Then it threw orange up against the underside of the clouds. Silas Mercer pulled Juniper up. They went to the shack first. Yes. They thought we were sleeping in it. Yes. How many? I cannot count from here. At least 4, maybe more. Abby was watching the fire. "Mr. Mercer." "Yes, miss." "You said we would not be in that shack." "That's right, miss." "Then why are they burning it?" "To see who runs." "Will somebody run?" "No, miss, because we are not in it." "What if we had been in it?" "We are not in it, Abby." "What if we had been?" He did not answer her. He nudged Juniper west. "Keep your head down, miss. The fire will draw them for an hour. We have an hour. We are going to use it." They rode hard. They rode past the place where the creek bent south. They rode past the cottonwoods. They came down into the bottom, where the burned homestead stood, and Silas Mercer pulled Juniper up at the far edge of the cottonwoods, and he sat in the saddle a full minute listening. He heard the creek. He heard nothing else. "Ma'am?" "Yes, Silas." "You stay here with the child." "No." "Ma'am." "I am not letting you go in alone." "Ma'am, the chimney is on the south wall. The door is on the east. If I go in slow and quiet and they have left a man, that man will be on the porch or by the door. I can take a man on the porch. I cannot take a man on the porch and worry about you two behind me. I need you to stay here. I need the child where I can come back to her. I need you to hold the rifle and shoot anything that is not me coming out of that house. Is that understood?" Martha Bell did not like it. She took the rifle. "Understood." "Abby." "Yes, sir?" "You stay with Miss Martha. You do what she says. If I come out of that house and I am running, you do not call my name. You ride the way she rides. Are we clear?" "Yes, sir." "Are we clear, Abby?" "We are clear." He swung down. He left Juniper with Martha. He walked. He walked the long way around north along the creek, then west, then south, coming up on the burned homestead from the back. He kept low. He moved 1 foot at a time. He had done this in the war, and he had done it for elk in the high country, and he could still do it. He was 20 yards from the back wall when he heard the horse. It was on the other side of the house. It snorted. It stamped once. It was tied. A horse meant a man. A man meant a problem. Silas drew his pistol. He moved sideways along the back wall to where the wall had fallen in. He stepped over the broken boards. He was in the house. The man was in the front room. His back was to Silas. He was a thin man. He was not Rusk. He had a rifle across his lap. He was sitting on the overturned table smoking a cigarette, watching the front door, not the back. A man Rusk had left to wait because Rusk had figured Silas would come in the way a man comes in through the door he knew with a child in his arms. The man heard him too late. He started to turn. Silas Mercer did not shoot him. He did not want a shot. A shot would bring the others. He brought the butt of the pistol down across the back of the man's head. The man went down. Silas dragged him to the corner. He took the rifle. He took the pistol off the man's hip. He took the cartridges. He gagged the man with the man's own bandana, and he tied the man's hands behind his back with the man's own belt. Then he went to the chimney. He went down on his knees in the ash. He felt along the stones. He felt for one that moved. The third one up from the floor on the right side moved. He worked it out with his fingers. There was a hollow behind it. He reached in. His fingers found tin. He pulled out a small flat tobacco tin. He pulled out a folded paper wrapped in oilcloth. He pulled out a square of cloth that had once been white and was now stiff and dark with something that was not dirt. Clara Bell's scarf. Silas Mercer sat on his heels in the ash with the tin in one hand and the paper in the other and the scarf across his knee, and he did not move for a long count. Then he put the tin and the paper inside his coat. He folded the scarf small and put it inside his coat too. He stood up. He turned to go. He stopped. A voice was in the doorway. "Mr. Mercer?" A clean voice. A voice that had been to school. Silas Mercer did not turn around. "Mr. Rusk, I had hoped you would be a fool. You are not a fool. I am almost disappointed. I aim to please. You came in the back. You took my man. You found the paper. All in about 4 minutes. That is good work. I have done worse. I am sure you have. You going to shoot me in the back, Mr. Rusk? I have not decided. Then decide." Silas Mercer turned. Calvin Rusk stood in the doorway with a pistol pointed at Silas's chest. He had a clean coat. He had a gray hat. He had 2 men behind him in the yard. "Where is the child, Mr. Mercer?" "Far from here." "I do not believe you." "You can believe what you want." "Where?" "I rode her north 4 hours, and I left her with a freighter going to Denver. He took her in his wagon. She is sleeping in a bedroll under a tarp, and she will be in Denver in 2 days." Calvin Rusk did not blink. "That is a good story." "It is. It is not true." "It might be. It might be. But the storekeeper's mule is in the cottonwoods at the south end of this clearing. I can see it from here. The mule was not in the cottonwoods 2 hours ago, so either you have a lot of mules or the storekeeper is here. And if the storekeeper is here, the child is here, and your story is not as good as I thought." Silas Mercer did not move. "Mr. Rusk." "Yes. You are going to walk out of this house. You are going to mount your horse. You are going to ride east. You are going to bring me a woman named Clara Bell alive. You are going to bring her to me at this house at sundown tomorrow. When she is here, I will give you the paper, and you will ride away, and I will ride away, and we will never see each other again." Calvin Rusk laughed. It was a soft laugh. It was a laugh that had heard a lot of offers and refused most of them. "That is a fine speech, Mr. Mercer, but I do not think you are in a position to make speeches. I am holding the paper. You are holding the paper. I am holding the gun. The paper has no value if the man holding it is dead. The paper has value. You want it back. Otherwise you would shoot me now and dig through my coat afterward. You have not shot me, so we will talk." A silence. Calvin Rusk's mouth moved. "You are a curious man, Mr. Mercer." "I have been called worse. Walk out into the yard, slowly, hands away from your hips. Walk past me. Do not turn around. And if I do not, then I will shoot you in the leg, and we will see how much speech-making you have left in you after that." Silas Mercer walked. He walked slow. He kept his hands out. He passed Rusk. He stepped through the doorway. He stepped down into the yard. The 2 men in the yard had their rifles up. They were perhaps 15 feet away. They were on either side of the porch. One was tall. One was thick. Calvin Rusk came out behind him. "Stop there." Silas Mercer stopped. "Now. The paper, Mr. Mercer." "Trade." "What trade?" "Clara Bell. She is alive. Bring her." "She is alive 5 hours east of here. I cannot bring her tonight, but I will bring her tomorrow. You will hand me the paper at sundown tomorrow at this house, and I will bring her in a wagon, and we will both walk away. Then we are at a stand, Mr. Rusk, because I will not give you the paper until I see her. You will give me the paper now." "I will not." "Mr. Mercer." Mr. Rusk. I will count to 3. Count slow. The man on the left side of the porch, the thick one, shifted his rifle. A shot rang out from the cottonwoods. The thick man went down. Silas Mercer was moving before the thick man hit the ground. He drew. He fired. The tall man on the right fired at the same time. Silas felt the bullet go in low on his left side below the ribs. The tall man went down with a shot through the throat. Calvin Rusk fired twice. The first shot went wide. The second went through Silas's shoulder. Silas got off one more. It took Rusk in the leg. Rusk went down on one knee. He came up firing. Silas dove sideways behind a piece of broken porch railing. A shot came from the cottonwoods again, then another. Then Martha Bell was running across the yard with the rifle, and Abby was crawling along the ground behind her, dragging her bad leg, headed for the house. Abby, no. Go back. The chimney. I have it. Show me. Abby, get down. Rusk fired at Martha. The shot went wide. Martha fired back. The shot took Rusk's pistol out of his hand and a piece of his thumb with it. He screamed. He went down to one knee again. And then he did the thing Silas had not expected. He moved. For a wounded man, he moved fast. He came up off his knee, and he lunged sideways, and he caught Abby by the hair as she crawled past him, and he yanked her up, and he had her against his chest before Silas could fire again. Drop it. Silas Mercer did not drop it. He had his pistol pointed at Rusk's head, but Rusk was holding Abby in front of his chest. Abby's feet were off the ground. Her bad leg dangled. She did not scream. She held very still. Rusk had a knife now. He had taken it from his belt. He had it under her chin. Drop the pistol, Mr. Mercer. You will not cut her. Try me. You will not cut her. If you cut her, you have nothing. You have a body and a paper you do not own. You will not cut her. Drop the pistol. Silas Mercer's pistol did not move. Abby. Yes, sir. Look at me. She looked at him. You remember what I said in the cave? Yes, sir. It still holds. Yes, sir. Listen to me. He has his hand near your mouth. He has a hand around your shoulder. The hand near your mouth is a wounded hand. He took a bullet through the thumb. Yes, sir. You hear me, Abby? I hear you. You know what to do. Abby Reed had hidden under a burning floor for 6 days with a sack of flour and a jar of water, and she had come out of that house holding a rusted kitchen knife with 2 hands, and she was 9 years old, and she was tired and hungry, and broken-legged, and she was the daughter of Ruth Reed, who had crossed 3 weeks of country to give her a window of her own. She bit Calvin Rusk's hand. She bit it where the bullet had gone through the thumb. She bit it down to the bone. He screamed. He dropped her. She fell. Silas Mercer fired. The bullet took Calvin Rusk through the chest, not the heart. Below it. To the right. The kind of shot that puts a man down for a long time without killing him outright if the bleeding is stopped and the doctor is fast. He did not want him dead. He wanted him to talk. Rusk fell. He fell across the broken porch step and he rolled half over and he tried to lift the knife and could not. The yard went quiet. Martha Bell was on one knee with the rifle. She was bleeding from the forearm. She was alive. Abby was on the ground on her hands, and her good knee and the side of her face had a smear of red across it where Rusk's blood had been on his hand, and she was looking at Silas Mercer with eyes that were not crying. Silas Mercer was leaning against the broken porch railing. His left side was wet. His shoulder was wet. He held the pistol pointed at Calvin Rusk's chest. He did not lower it. Mr. Rusk. Rusk did not answer. Mr. Rusk, you are not dead. You will not be dead. You will live until you stand in front of a federal judge in Denver. You hear me? Rusk's eyes opened. Where is Clara Bell? Rusk did not answer. Silas Mercer cocked the hammer. Where is Clara Bell, Mr. Rusk? Sweetwater. Where in Sweetwater? Hotel, top floor, back room. Alive. Alive. How many men? 2. You are lying. 4. Better. Silas Mercer let the hammer down. He turned to Martha Bell. "Ma'am, can you ride?" "I can ride." "Take Abby. Take Juniper. Ride north until you see the spur of the road that goes to Pine Hollow. Do not go to Pine Hollow. Cut around it. Ride to the place we were before, the cave. Wait there. Do not light a fire." "Silas?" "I will come." "Silas, you are bleeding." "I will come." "Silas Mercer." "Ma'am?" "You are not riding to Sweetwater tonight in the shape you are in." "I am not riding tonight." "Then what?" He looked down at Calvin Rusk. "I am bringing him to town. To Pine Hollow. To Pine Hollow. The deputy is there. The deputy is going to find out tonight that his man is in the road with 2 bullets in him and a confession on his lips. He will deny it. He will. Then we will see who in that town has more spine than the deputy thought they had. And we will see whether the boy at the livery and the blacksmith and the widow with the forged mark and every other soul Rusk ever cheated has been waiting for somebody to make the first move." Martha Bell did not answer for a moment. Then she said, "All right, Silas Mercer." She came to him. She took his hand. She turned to Abby. "Child, get on the horse." Abby pulled herself up using the broken porch rail. She came across the yard. She stopped in front of Silas Mercer. She looked up at him. "Mr. Mercer?" "Yes, miss." "Your side." "I know." "Your shoulder." "I know." "You will come back." "Yes, miss." "Say it again." "I will come back, Abby." "Tomorrow." "Tomorrow." She did not throw her arms around him. She was not the kind of child who threw her arms around anyone. She put her small hand against the front of his bloody shirt right over his heart, and she held it there a moment, and she nodded once. Then she went to Juniper. Martha lifted her up. They rode. Silas Mercer stood in the yard of the burned house with one hand pressed against the wet hole in his side, and he watched them go until the cottonwoods took them, and the sun was just beginning to come up over the eastern ridge, and the creek at his feet caught the light, and the water ran red because the blood from Calvin Rusk had reached the bank. He looked down at Rusk. "Get up, Mr. Rusk." "I can't." "Get up, or I will drag you. Either way, you are coming to town this morning. Either way, the people in that town are going to see your face. Either way, this ends today." Calvin Rusk closed his eyes. He opened them. He got up. Silas Mercer took him by the collar with his good hand, and he walked him to the tall man's horse, where it stood tied beside the porch, and he tied Rusk's wrists in front of him, and he pushed him up into the saddle, and he climbed up behind him, bleeding, and he turned the horse north. The creek ran red behind them in the morning sun, and Silas Mercer rode toward Pine Hollow with a confessed murderer on the saddle in front of him, and 2 bullets in his own body, and he did not stop, and he did not look back, and he did not slow the horse, because he had told a 9-year-old child he would come back tomorrow, and Silas Mercer, for the first time in 11 years of riding alone, intended to keep his word. Pine Hollow was waking when Silas Mercer rode in. He came down the main street at a walk with Calvin Rusk, slumped forward in the saddle in front of him, his own left side wet through his coat, and his shoulder wet through his shirt, and his pistol in his right hand, resting on the saddle horn for everyone to see. The first man who saw him was the boy at the livery. The boy was sweeping out the front. He stopped sweeping. He held the broom across his chest like a man holding a rifle. He did not say anything. "Son?" "Yes, sir." "Get the deputy." "Sir." "Get the deputy. Tell him Calvin Rusk is in the road in front of the mercantile, and tell him to come unarmed, and tell him every man and woman in this town that hears you is welcome to follow." The boy dropped the broom. He ran. Silas Mercer rode on at a walk. The second person he passed was a woman in a doorway holding a baby. She put her hand over the baby's eyes. She did not turn away. He passed the post office. He passed the saloon. The man Martha had said was watching the store came out onto the boardwalk, half-dressed with a pistol in his hand. Silas Mercer raised his own pistol. "Drop it." The man froze. "Drop it, mister. I have shot 3 of your friends in the last hour. I do not aim to take a 4th before breakfast, but I will." The man dropped it. "Step into the street." He stepped into the street. Hands on your head. He put his hands on his head. Walk in front of me. He walked. By the time Silas Mercer reached the mercantile, there were 11 people behind him in the road and more coming. He pulled up in front of the door. Calvin Rusk lifted his head. He looked out at the gathering townspeople with eyes that were not quite focused, but were focused enough. Mr. Mercer. Yes. You are going to die in that saddle if you do not get a doctor. I will die when I am finished. That is not how it works. In your business, maybe. In mine, it is exactly how it works. The deputy came running down the street. He had a star on his vest. He had a pistol on his hip. He had a face the color of a man who had been told a thing he did not want to be told. He was perhaps 35. He was running with his hand on the pistol, but not yet drawing. He stopped 20 feet from the mercantile. You, off the horse. Silas Mercer did not move. I said off the horse, mister. Put the pistol on the ground. You have 1 minute to do it before I put you down myself. Deputy? Off. Deputy? The man in front of me is Calvin Rusk. He is bleeding from 3 places. He is bleeding because he murdered a widow named Ruth Reed at the homestead at the creek 6 days ago. He is bleeding because he tried to murder a 9-year-old child after Ruth Reed was dead. He is bleeding because he has held a woman named Clara Bell in a hotel in Sweetwater for 4 days. And that woman is alive, and I aim to ride to Sweetwater this afternoon and bring her out. I am telling you this in the road in front of your town because I do not trust the inside of your office, deputy, so you will hear it here, and so will everybody else. The deputy's hand was on his pistol. Mister, you are going to put your gun down. I am not. You are going to put it down because if you do not, I will draw. Draw. The deputy did not draw. There was a silence in the street. It was the kind of silence Silas Mercer remembered from the war. It was the silence before a thing happens that cannot be unhappened. He sat in the saddle, and he waited for it. The deputy's hand stayed on his pistol. Then Calvin Rusk spoke. He spoke loud, loud enough to carry. He had been a man who used his voice his whole life. He used it now. Tom? The deputy looked up at him. Tom, shoot him. The deputy did not move. Tom. He is bleeding to death. 1 round in the chest. You have done it before. Do it now, and we walk out of this. Do it now. A woman in the crowd made a sound. The deputy's hand opened and closed on the pistol grip. Mr. Rusk. Tom. Mr. Rusk. There are 40 people in this road. There were 40 people in this road last week, Tom. They did not stop you then. They will not stop you now. Shoot him. The deputy did not shoot him. He looked at Silas Mercer. Then he looked past Silas Mercer. Then he looked at the crowd. The crowd was looking back at him. There was a blacksmith with his arms folded. There was a woman with 2 children behind her skirt. There was an old man with a cane. There was the boy from the livery. There was a farmer in a battered hat. There was the baby and the woman in the doorway. There was a young man with 1 arm. There were 40 pairs of eyes, and not one of them was looking away. The deputy took his hand off his pistol. He took it off slow. He raised both hands. He sat down in the dust of the road. He sat down like a man whose legs had finally stopped pretending. Calvin Rusk made a sound in the saddle. It was a sound Silas Mercer had never heard a man like Calvin Rusk make. It was the sound of a man watching the only thing he had built fall over in front of him. Tom. Mr. Rusk. Get up. No, sir. Get up, Tom. No, sir. I am done. I am done, Mr. Rusk. A man in the crowd stepped forward. He was the blacksmith. He had hands the size of plates. He came up to the side of Silas Mercer's horse, and he looked up at Silas, and he said, Mr. Yes. My name is Otto Reinhardt. I shoe horses in this town. I knew Calvin Rusk was a thief 1 year ago. I did not say it. I am saying it now. Mr. Reinhardt? Yes. Will you take him off this horse and tie him to that post? Yes, sir. The blacksmith took Calvin Rusk off the horse. He took him with 1 hand by the collar and 1 hand under the arm, and Rusk did not have the strength to fight him. And Reinhardt walked him to the post in front of the mercantile and tied him to it with a length of rope from his apron, and he did not do it gentle. Then another man stepped forward. He was a farmer. "Mister?" "Yes. Earl Pickens, 3 miles out North Fork. Calvin Rusk forged a deed on my ranch in February. I lost 40 acres. I have a son who left home over it. I did not say a word at the time because I was afraid for my wife. I am saying it now." "Mr. Pickens?" "Yes, sir." "Will you stand here in this road and say it loud enough for the deputy to hear you?" "I will." He turned. He faced the deputy in the dust. "Tom Garrison, you signed that deed. You knew what was on it. You knew the mark was forged. You watched me sign, and you did not stop me. I am saying it now in front of the people of this town. I am pressing charges." The deputy did not look up. Then a woman. "Mister?" "Yes. My name is Effie Boone. I am a widow. Calvin Rusk came to my house 6 months ago and told me my husband had signed our land over to him before he died. I knew my husband. My husband could not have signed any such paper. But Rusk had it. He had a paper with my husband's mark. My husband could not write. He marked an X. The X on that paper was not his X. I knew it. I did not say it. I gave the land. I have been living with my sister since. I am saying it now." "Ma'am?" "Yes. Will you say it again to a federal marshal?" "I will say it to God Almighty, mister. I will say it to anyone who will hear me. I am 61 years old, and I have been afraid of that man for half a year, and I am done being afraid." A man at the back. "Mister?" "Yes. Henry Doss. I am the school teacher. There are 8 children in my school who lost a parent or a homestead to Calvin Rusk inside this last year. I have a list of their names. I have kept it in my desk because I did not know what else to do with it. I will get the list." "Mr. Doss?" "Yes." "Bring it." The school teacher ran. A boy in the back. It was the boy from the livery. "Mister?" "Son." "I saw the wagon?" "What wagon?" "The wagon with the lady with the gray hair. I told Miss Martha. I will tell you. I will tell anybody. The deputy was driving it. He took her east. He came back 2 days later without her. He came back with mud on his boots, and he did not look at me when I took his horse. I am 12 years old, mister. I have a sister. He is not going to do this to anybody else." "Son, what is your name?" "Caleb." "Caleb, you ride a horse?" "Yes, sir." "You ride one fast?" "Yes, sir." "There is a federal judge in Denver. There is a federal marshal in Boulder. Which is closer to you?" "Boulder, sir. By half a day." "Can you ride to Boulder?" "Yes, sir." "Take the fastest horse in your barn. Go to the marshal in Boulder. Tell him there is a man named Calvin Rusk tied to a post in Pine Hollow, Colorado, and the people of Pine Hollow are waiting on him to come collect a confessed murderer. Tell him to ride hard. Tell him Silas Mercer sent you." "Silas Mercer." "Yes. That's your name?" "That is my name." "Yes, sir, Mr. Mercer." The boy ran. Silas Mercer sat in the saddle and watched him run, and then he put his hand against his side, and his hand came away wet, and he closed his eyes for a second, and when he opened them, Martha Bell was standing beside his stirrup. She had not gone to the cave. Abby was on the mule behind her. "Ma'am?" "Silas Mercer, get off that horse before you fall off it." "Ma'am?" "Get off." "I have not finished." "You have. The town has not. But you have. Get off the horse." He got off the horse. He got off it badly. Martha Bell caught him on the way down. So did the blacksmith. They half carried him onto the boardwalk in front of the mercantile and set him on the bench Martha had been sitting on the previous afternoon when she had sorted buttons. Abby came up on the boardwalk, the kid. She came up dragging her bad leg. She did not let anyone help her. She came over to the bench, and she stood in front of Silas Mercer, and she said, "Mr. Mercer." "Yes, miss." "You came back." "Yes, miss." "You said tomorrow." "It is tomorrow somewhere, Abby." "It is the same day." "Then I came back early." She did not smile. She was not a child who smiled, but she put her hand on his bloody shoulder very lightly, and she said, "I knew you would." "Did you?" "I knew." "How?" "Because you came back the first time." He did not have an answer for that. Martha Bell was already cutting his shirt away from his side. The school teacher had come back with a sheet of paper folded twice. Otto Reinhardt was hauling Calvin Rusk back upright at the post, because Rusk had slid down it and was sitting in the dirt with his head against the wood. A doctor came running down the street. He was a thin man in his 50s. He was carrying a leather bag. "Where is the wound?" "Side and shoulder." "Move." Martha Bell moved. The doctor worked. While the doctor worked, the school teacher read his list aloud in the road. He read 8 names. He read the parents lost. He read the homesteads lost. He read what had been done. The townspeople of Pine Hollow stood in the road, and they heard those names, and they did not move, and some of them put their hands over their faces, and some of them did not. And while he read, more people came. A man rode in from the East Fork. A family came in a wagon from north of the church. A woman walked in from her kitchen with flour still on her apron. By the time the school teacher had finished his list, there were 80 people in the road. Then the man at the back said, "Read it again." The school teacher read it again. Silas Mercer sat on the bench with the doctor's hands inside his side, and he watched the road, and he did not say anything, because the road was saying it for him. Abby was on the bench beside him. She had her hand on his good knee. "Mr. Mercer?" "Yes, miss." "All of them. They knew." "Yes, miss." "They all knew, and they didn't say." "Yes, miss. They knew." "Why didn't they say?" Silas Mercer thought about it. He thought about a man on a horse who had ridden past every house in this country for 11 years. He thought about a brother in a shallow grave at Cold Harbor. He thought about a canteen on the floor of a burned house. Because, miss, he said, they thought they were the only ones who knew. And a man who thinks he is the only one is a man who keeps his mouth shut. That is what Calvin Rusk counted on. He counted on every one of them being alone in what they had seen, and he was right about it for a year, until today. What happened today? You came down the road, miss. You and me, together. And then Miss Martha came, and then the boy, and then Mr. Reinhardt, and then they were not alone anymore. None of them. And when people stop being alone, they stop being quiet. Abby was quiet a long time. Then she said, "Mr. Mercer." "Yes, miss. I want to say it too." "Say what?" "What he did, to my mama, to Miss Clara, to me." "Abby, I want to stand up in the road and say it." "Your leg." "I will hold on to the post." He looked at her. He looked at her a long time. Then he said, "Doctor." "Yes." "Can a man stand up with a bullet in his side?" "He can stand up. He will not stand long." "Long enough to walk into the road and back?" "Maybe." "Help me up." "Mr. Mercer?" "Help me up, doctor." The doctor helped him up. Martha Bell came up under his bad shoulder. Otto Reinhardt came up under his good one. They walked him into the road. Abby walked beside him. She walked beside him, dragging her bad leg. She did not let him carry her. She walked the length of the boardwalk and the length of the porch and out into the dust, and she stood there with her hand on the post that Calvin Rusk was tied to, and she looked at the people of Pine Hollow, and the people of Pine Hollow looked back at her. "My name is Abigail Reed." The road went quiet. "I am 9 years old. My mama was Ruth Reed. She was a widow. We came from St. Joseph in Missouri. We were coming to a homestead at the creek. The homestead belonged to my mama because her uncle left it to her. He left it to her because he wanted me to have a yard. That is what my mama told me on the wagon. She told me on every day of the trip. She said, 'You are going to have a yard, Abby. You are going to have a window. You are going to have a place.'" The road did not move. "This man," she said, and she did not look at him because she had decided she would not look at him while she spoke. "This man came to our house. He said the homestead was his. My mama said it was not. He went away. He came back. He had 2 men. He sent me to the creek with Miss Clara Bell." A woman in the road had her hand over her face. "I heard a shot. Miss Clara took me back to the house. She put me under the floorboards. She said, "Don't make a sound." She said, "Don't come out." She said if I came out, the man would find me. Then she went outside. She said my mama's name out loud. She did not get an answer. The woman who was crying turned her face away. Miss Clara told this man I was dead. She told him I died of the fever last week. She told him so he would not look for me. They took her away. They burned the house with me under it. The boards were wet. They did not burn through. I was under there 6 days. I had a sack of flour and a jar of water. The jar ran out on the 5th day. On the 6th day, Mr. Mercer came. She turned her head. She looked at Calvin Rusk. "Mr. Rusk." He did not look up. "Mr. Rusk, look at me." He looked at her. "You said I did not count. You said it on the porch yesterday. I heard you. I want to say it back. I count. My mama counted. Miss Clara counts. And everybody on this road counts. And you are going to a Denver jail, and you are going to a Denver judge, and the last thing you are going to know about me is that I am the one who said it first." Calvin Rusk closed his eyes. He did not open them again for a long time. Abby Reed turned. She walked back to the bench. She walked, dragging her bad leg and her good leg shaking, and Silas Mercer was there before she made it, and he caught her at the elbow, and he walked her to the bench, and he sat her down, and she sat very straight, and she did not cry. The road did not move for a long time. Then a man at the back said, "I will go to Sweetwater." It was the blacksmith. "I will saddle my horse. I will go with whoever else will come. There is a woman in that hotel, and we know which room. We have 10 of us in this road that can ride. We can be there by sundown." "I'll go," said Earl Pickens. "I'll go," said the man with one arm. "I'll go," said the schoolteacher. "And I do not own a pistol, and I am no good with one, but I will hold the reins of any horse you give me, and I will ride." A dozen men stepped forward. Silas Mercer looked at them from the bench. "Gentlemen, Mr. Mercer, you will go in the next hour. You will ride hard. You will go to a hotel in Sweetwater top floor back room. You will find a woman named Clara Bell. She is the sister of Martha Bell. She has been held there 4 days. There are 4 men with her, and they will not give her up easy, and they will shoot if you give them a chance, so do not give them one. Mr. Reinhardt." "Yes." "You take the lead." "Yes, sir." "Bring her back." "I will bring her back." "Bring her back alive." "I will bring her back alive." The blacksmith went. Earl Pickens went. The one-armed man went. The schoolteacher went. 11 riders went out of Pine Hollow at a gallop, and the dust rose behind them in the morning sun, and Silas Mercer sat on the bench in front of the mercantile with his side bandaged tight and his shoulder bandaged tight, and Abby Reed sat beside him with her hand on his knee, and Martha Bell sat beside Abby, and they sat there together and watched the road until the dust was gone. The federal marshal from Boulder reached Pine Hollow at midnight. He took Calvin Rusk into custody at the post where Otto Reinhardt had tied him. He took Tom Garrison, the deputy, into custody on the bench beside the boardwalk where he had been sitting since morning with his hat in his hands. He took the man from the saloon. He sat at the mercantile counter until 2 in the morning, writing down names and dates, and the 8 names on the schoolteacher's list. The 11 riders from Sweetwater came back the next morning. They came back at a walk because they had a wagon in the middle of them, and the wagon was going slow. In the wagon, sitting up against the side with a blanket over her knees, was a woman with iron-colored hair, thinner than she should have been, with a bruise on her cheek and a split lip. And Abby Reed saw her from the bench in front of the mercantile. And Abby Reed stood up, and Abby Reed walked into the road, dragging her bad leg, not waiting for anyone, and she walked to the wagon, and Clara Bell, who had told a lie to keep her alive, leaned over the side of the wagon, and she said one word, "Abby?" "Miss Clara." "You're alive." "Yes, ma'am." "You're alive." "Yes, ma'am. Mr. Mercer got me out." Clara Bell put her hand over her mouth. She had not cried in 4 days, and she did not cry now. But her face moved in a way it had not been able to move in 4 days, and she reached down over the side of the wagon, and Abby Reed reached up, and Clara Bell took the child's hand in her 2 hands, and she held it like the last brass button off her father's coat. Martha Bell came down off the boardwalk. She walked to the wagon. She did not say anything. She did not say her sister's name. She climbed up into the wagon, and she sat down beside Clara Belle, and she put her arms around her, and the two sisters sat there in a wagon in the middle of Pine Hollow, with a child holding both of their hands from the road. And the town of Pine Hollow stood around them. And nobody said a word, because everything that needed to be said had been said the morning before, in a road that had finally stopped being quiet. Silas Mercer sat on the bench in front of the mercantile. He watched. He did not move. He did not stand up. He did not call out. He sat with his hands flat on his knees, and his side bandaged tight, and his shoulder bandaged tight, and the sun came up over Pine Hollow on a day that did not have Calvin Rusk in it for the first time in a year and a half. And Silas Mercer, who had ridden past 11 years of other people's pain, and told himself it was not his to carry, watched a child he had pulled out of a burned house hold the hand of a woman he had pulled out of a hotel room. And he understood finally, late, the thing his brother had tried to tell him in a tent in Virginia in 1864, the thing he had refused to hear. And he understood it now without anyone having to say it. A man is not measured by the roads he rides. He is measured by the ones he stops on. The federal marshal kept Calvin Rusk in Pine Hollow for 3 days. He kept him in the back room of the deputy's office, which the marshal had taken over as if it had been his all along, and he wrote down everything Rusk would say and everything Rusk would not. On the 4th morning, he tied Rusk to the back of a Conestoga wagon with 2 armed men beside him, and one in front and one behind, and he started the slow ride to Denver. Tom Garrison, the deputy, went in irons in the same wagon. So did the man from the saloon. So did the thin man Silas had knocked out at the burned house, who had survived the rope on his wrists and was now afraid of every sound. Silas Mercer was on the boardwalk in front of the mercantile when they left. He stood up to watch them go. He stood up out of the chair Martha Bell had been making him sit in for 4 days, and his side complained and his shoulder complained, but he stood, and Abby Reed stood beside him. "Mr. Mercer?" "Yes, miss." "He is not going to come back, is he?" "No, miss, he is not." "Not ever?" "Not ever." "Are you sure?" Silas Mercer thought about it. He thought about the kind of judge a federal court in Denver had, and the kind of evidence a schoolteacher's list and a widow's testimony and a child's bitten thumb made when set down in a courtroom, and the kind of crime murdering a widow and burning a child was. "I am sure, Abby." "Will they hang him?" "Yes, miss." "Will I have to be there?" "Not unless you want to be. The judge has your statement. The marshal wrote it down. The marshal will read it for you if you ask him to." "I do not want to be there." "Then you will not be there." She watched the wagon roll down the road. She did not wave. She did not say anything else. When the wagon was out past the church and turning west toward the Denver road, she sat down on the boardwalk, and she put her bad leg out straight, and she said, "Mr. Mercer?" "Yes, miss." "Now what?" He sat down beside her. He sat down slow because his side complained when he sat, as much as it complained when he stood, and he thought about the question for a long time. "Abby." "Yes, sir. There is a homestead at the creek that belongs to you. It belongs to you because your mama's uncle left it to her, and she is gone now, and that means it comes to you. The paper in the chimney says so. The marshal looked at it. The lawyer in Denver will say the same thing. It is your homestead, Abby. It is your yard. It is your window." She did not say anything. "That house is mostly burned, miss. Most of the walls are gone. The roof is gone. There is one stone chimney, and there is a piece of porch, and there is the floor your mama hoped to walk on, and that is most of it." "Yes, sir." "But the chimney never came down, and the floor did not burn through, and there is good land around it, and there is water in the creek, and the country needs a rancher, miss. The country always needs a rancher." Abby was quiet. "I am too small to be a rancher, Mr. Mercer." "You are 9, miss. You will not be 9 forever, and you will not be alone." "Will you stay?" He did not answer right away. He had been a man on a horse for 11 years. He had been a man who slept in line shacks and ate jerked beef and talked to a mare named Juniper because he could not bear to talk to a person. He had been a man whose only address was the direction of his horse. He had not built a house in his life. Miss. Yes, sir. I do not know how to build a house. You do not need to know how to build a house. Beg pardon. You do not need to know how to build a house, Mr. Mercer, because Otto Reinhardt knows how to build a house. And Mr. Pickens knows how to build a barn. And the school teacher knows how to read a measure. And Miss Martha knows how to feed 20 men. And Miss Clara knows how to sew a curtain. And the boy at the livery knows how to drive a wagon. And the doctor knows how to fix you when you do it wrong. You do not need to know how. You only need to know where. Silas Mercer looked at her. He looked at her a long time. He had not thought a child of 9 would say a thing that would put a man on his feet faster than a bullet could. But she had said it, and it had, and he sat on the boardwalk beside her, and he did not have an answer for it. He gave her the only one he had. "All right, miss." "All right." "All right." He stood up. He went into the mercantile. Martha Bell was behind the counter sorting flour by weight. Clara Bell was on a stool by the window with a quilt over her knees and a cup of broth in both hands. "Ma'am?" Silas Mercer. "I need lumber." Martha Bell looked at him. "For what?" "For a house." She set down the scoop. "Whose house?" "Abby's house." A silence. Then Martha Bell said, "How much lumber, Silas Mercer?" "All of it." "All of it I have. All of it you have. I will pay you what I have. It is not enough. I will pay you the rest when I can. I will work it off if I have to. I will break horses for every man in this town for a year if I have to. But I need the lumber, and I need it this week." Martha Bell did not answer for a moment. Then she walked around the counter. She crossed the floor. She came up to him, and she put one hand on his good shoulder, and she said, "Silas Mercer." "Ma'am, you are not going to pay me for the lumber. Ma'am, you are not going to pay me. You are not going to break horses for anybody. You are going to take every board in the back of this store, and you are going to take Earl Pickens's wagon to haul it, and you are going to take Otto Reinhardt's hands to fit it, and you are going to take Henry Doss's measure to keep it square, and you are going to take Effie Boone's quilts to keep that child warm in November, and you are not going to pay any of us a dime. Do you understand me?" "Ma'am, do you understand me?" "Yes, ma'am." We owed her. We owed her mother. We owed Clara. We owed every name on that list. We owed it for a year and we did not pay it. We are paying it now. We are paying it in lumber and nails and quilts and time, and we are paying it with our hands, and you are not going to take that from us, Silas Mercer. You are not going to take it. He did not say anything. Clara Bell spoke from the stool by the window. "Silas." "Ma'am." "You will not fight her." "No, ma'am." "Good." He went out of the store, and Abby was still on the boardwalk, and he sat down beside her again, and he said, "Miss." "Yes, sir." "We are getting the lumber." "I know, sir." "You heard?" "I heard." She did not smile. She was not a child who smiled. But she put her hand on his, and she squeezed it once, and that was all. They took Earl Pickens' wagon out to the creek the next morning. Otto Reinhardt drove it. Silas Mercer sat in the back with his bandaged side and his bandaged shoulder, and Abby sat beside him on a folded quilt, and Martha Bell came on her mule, and a dozen men from town came on theirs. When they got to the burned homestead, nobody spoke for a long time. The chimney was still standing. The piece of porch was still there. The hole in the floor where Silas had hidden with Abby was still open. Otto Reinhardt walked the line of where the walls had been. He pulled a length of twine from his pocket. He walked the front. He walked the back. He walked the sides. He came back to the wagon. "Mr. Mercer?" "Mr. Reinhardt." "This was a good house once." "Yes." "We can make it a good house again." "That is what I am asking." "It will take 6 weeks." "All right. It will take 6 weeks because we have to do it right. Because the child is going to live in it. Because her mother bought it with her life. Because we are not going to put up a shack and call it square." "Mr. Reinhardt." "Yes. Take however long you need." "I will." The townspeople worked. They came out of Pine Hollow at first light, and they went back at sundown, and some of them stayed the night in tents, and they put up walls, and they framed the roof, and they put glass in the window. The uncle had cut for himself before he died, and they laid a new floor over the old one. They did not tear the chimney down. They built around it. Henry Doss, the schoolteacher, said, "It had stood through a fire and a murder, and a year of waiting, and it had earned its place, and nobody argued with him." On the 8th day, Earl Pickens came up the creek path with a small mare on a lead. She was a sorrel. She was perhaps 4 years old. She had a white star on her forehead and one white sock on the off side. "Mr. Mercer?" "Mr. Pickens." "This is for the child." "Sir, do not say no to me, mister. I have a son who will not come home. I have a wife who has not smiled in 3 months. I have 40 acres I have lost. I have a horse I bred myself out of a Morgan mare in 1869, and she is a good horse, and I am giving her to your child, and you are not going to refuse her. I have spent 8 months thinking about what I would say if Calvin Rusk ever went down, and I am saying it now with a horse, and you are not going to refuse her." "Mr. Pickens." "Yes, I will not refuse her." "Good." Abby came down the new porch step. She came down it slow, because the ramp Otto Reinhardt had built beside the porch was not finished yet, and she still had to step down. She came across the yard. She stopped in front of the mare. She put her hand on the mare's nose. The mare did not move. "Mr. Pickens." "Yes, child." "Is this a horse for me?" "Yes, child. For me to keep." "For you to keep." "What is her name?" "She does not have one. I never named her. I was waiting for somebody to need her more than I did." Abby looked at the mare. She looked at her a long time. "Mr. Pickens." "Yes, child." "My mama liked the morning. She said morning was the best thing God made because it came every day, and it did not ask permission. That is a true thing about morning, child. I am going to call her Morning. That is a fine name. Morning Reed. That is finer." Abby Reed turned her face up to the mare, and she did not cry, because she had decided in a burned house 6 weeks ago that she was not a child who cried, but she put her forehead against the mare's nose for a long moment, and the mare let her. Silas Mercer stood on the new porch with his hand on the post. Otto Reinhardt had set the day before, and he watched. He watched, and he understood that the homestead was not his. It would never be his. It would belong to a child who had survived a burned floor and a creek that ran red, and it would belong to a woman with iron-colored hair who had told a lie to save that child, and it would belong to the morning that came every day and did not ask permission. And Silas Mercer, who had ridden into this country with no home and no name and no horse, but a mare called after a tree, was not the owner here. He was the man who had stopped. That was all. That was enough. That night, after the workmen had gone back to town, and Martha Bell had taken Clara back in the wagon to recover at the store one more day, Silas Mercer sat with Abby on the new step. "Mr. Mercer?" "Yes, miss." "I have a question." "Ask it." "Why did you stop that day?" He had been waiting for the question. He had been waiting for it since the cave. He thought he would have an answer when she finally asked. He found that he did not. He gave her the truth. "Abby." "Yes, sir." "I almost didn't." She did not say anything. "I almost rode past your creek. My horse stopped. I would have ridden past if she had not stopped. That is the truth. I am not a man who turns toward trouble. I am a man who has ridden away from it for 11 years. If Juniper had not refused that water, I would not be here. You would not be here. None of this would be. You are saying it was the horse. I am saying it was the horse, and it was you. The horse stopped me. You kept me. Once you whispered what you whispered, I could not go back to being a man who rode past it." "Why not?" "Because a man who rides past a child once can call it survival. A man who rides past a child twice has to call it something else. And I am not strong enough to call it what it is. So I stayed. So I am staying." Abby was quiet a long time. Then she said, "Mr. Mercer." "Yes, miss." "My mama said good men die quicker than bad ones." She wasn't wrong. "Are you a good man, Mr. Mercer?" He did not answer right away. Miss. Yes, sir. I do not know if I am a good man. I know I am a man who came back. I know I am a man who stopped. That is what I know. The rest is for other people to call. Then I will call it. Miss. I will call it now, Mr. Mercer. Yes, miss. You are a good man, and you are not going to die quick, because I am not going to let you. Silas Mercer did not have an answer for that. He sat on the new step beside her, and after a while he reached over and he put his hand on the top of her head, and she did not move away. The marshal came back through Pine Hollow in October. He stopped at the store. He sat at Martha Bell's counter. He drank a cup of coffee. He told them what they wanted to know. Calvin Rusk had been tried in Denver in the second week of September. He had been found guilty on 3 counts of murder, 4 counts of fraud, 2 counts of theft of federal land grants, 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder of a federal marshal, and 1 count of unlawful detention. He had been hanged on a Tuesday at dawn. Tom Garrison had taken 20 years. The man from the saloon had taken 15. The thin man Silas had knocked out had testified against the others in exchange for 10. The widow Effie Boone had her 40 acres back. Earl Pickens had his 40. The school teachers' 8 names had each received a small payment from the federal court out of Rusk's seized estate. It was not enough money to bring back anybody. It was enough money to mean something. The marshal finished his coffee. He stood up. He put his hat on. He paid for the coffee even though Martha Bell told him not to. Mr. Mercer? Marshal. You ever want a job? No, sir. I figured I had to ask. I appreciate the asking. You take care of that child, Silas Mercer. I aim to. And the woman? Beg pardon? The woman, Mr. Clara Bell. Silas Mercer looked at the marshal. The marshal looked back at him with the small smile of a man who has seen more than he says and does not need to say much. Marshal. Mr. Mercer? I do not know what you are talking about. You will. The marshal rode out of Pine Hollow that afternoon, and Silas Mercer did not see him again. But the marshal had been right about something Silas Mercer had not yet said out loud to himself, and over the next weeks, Silas Mercer caught Clara Bell looking at him across the kitchen of the new homestead more than once, and he caught himself looking back, and Martha Bell saw it and said nothing because Martha Bell was a woman who did not say everything she saw. On the last day of October, the ramp Otto Reinhardt had built beside the porch was finished. It was a long, gentle slope of cedar boards. It came up to the porch at an easy grade. A child with a bad leg could walk up it without being carried. She could walk down it without holding anyone's hand. She could come and go from her own house the way every other child in the country came and went. Otto Reinhardt finished the last nail at sundown. He stood up. He set the hammer down. He did not say anything. He took his hat off and he wiped his forehead with his sleeve. Abby Reed came out onto the porch. She came to the top of the ramp. She put her hand on the rail Otto had built at the right height for her. She looked at Silas Mercer at the bottom of the ramp. Mr. Mercer? Yes, miss. You are not going to catch me. No, miss. You are not going to lift me. No, miss. You are going to stand there. Yes, miss. She walked down. She walked down on her own. She walked down, dragging her bad leg and using the rail with her good arm, and she did not stop, and she did not stumble, and she came down the ramp from the porch of her own house, under her own power, and she stopped at the bottom in front of Silas Mercer. There, she said. Yes, miss. I came down. You came down. By myself. By yourself. She did not throw her arms around him. She was not the kind of child who threw her arms around anyone, and Silas Mercer had stopped expecting her to be. But she put her small hand against the front of his shirt, right over his heart, the way she had done on the porch of the burned house, with Calvin Rusk bleeding in the yard. And she nodded once. Silas Mercer put his hand over hers. He held it there. Abby? Yes, sir. You are home. Yes, sir. Say it. I am home. Again. I am home. Once more, miss. I am home, Mr. Mercer. I am home." Behind them on the porch of the rebuilt house, Clara Bell stood in the doorway with her hand on the new frame, and Martha Bell stood beside her. And Otto Reinhardt stood at the top of the ramp with his hat in his hand, and the sun went down over the creek that ran past the place where a man on a tired horse had once heard a child breathing under a fallen table, and Silas Mercer, who had buried his brother at Cold Harbor in 1864 and had ridden alone for 11 years afterward, did not ride alone anymore. He had stopped at a creek in the summer of 1873. He had found a child with a rusted knife. He had carried her, and she had carried him. And the house they had built together with a town that had been silent and learned how not to be stood where a burned house had stood, and the brass tin with the buttons of an old soldier's coat sat on the mantel above the stone chimney that had refused to come down, and Abby Reed had her yard and her window and her place. Some homes are inherited. Some are chosen. Some are built from ash and fear, and one good decision made before it was too late. This one was built from all three, and no man, no court, no fire, and no cruel and quiet country would ever take it down again.